This is Dr. Jessica Fusch, your host for the Biohack Your Pets podcast. I'm also a holistic veterinarian, biohacker myself, and animal wellness pioneer. I am on a mission to maximize your pet's health and longevity. On this podcast, we will hear from leading experts about ancient techniques and therapies, as well as cutting-edge ones too. I know the questions to ask, so let's dig deep and change our approach from one that is reactive, where we wait to treat disease, to one that is proactive, where we are intentionally creating wellness.
Hello and happy Wednesday if you're hearing this right away. This is your host, Dr. Jessica Fusch, and I am back again on the Biohack Your Pets podcast with another quick, easily digestible nutrition lesson. Today we're going to talk about a few more nutrients that do have maximums, right? We want to pay attention to the nutrients that you could possibly overdo in the diet and make sure that we do not do that. Last week's episode was all about the fat-soluble vitamins because those are the most likely to be overdone. But today we're going to talk about some micronutrients, some minerals that you could possibly overdo in the diet if you're not careful. It's pretty unlikely, however, that you will overdo them. What's more likely is that you wouldn't get enough of them. But let's just make a list of the types of nutrients that could possibly be overdone, okay? So B vitamins, you really can't overdo. It's critical that you get enough of them, but it's really rare that you would actually be able to overdo them, and there is no maximum allowance for B vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins that we covered last week were vitamin A, D, and E, and those do have maximums. So go back and listen to that if you're interested, or if you haven't already. The microminerals that you need to pay attention to that you could overdo are calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, copper, zinc, iodine, and selenium. It's pretty difficult to overdo these, though. I just want to ease your mind because it's actually more likely that you won't get enough. Copper, for example, is found in pretty good doses in beef liver, but chicken livers don't have very much copper at all, and if you're using those, you'll need to provide a copper supplement. A lot of home-cooked diet and raw diets will need supplementation from some of these. It's really, really unlikely that you're going to overdo it, but these are things that you could overdo. So let's just talk about how much is too much. Calcium, a maximum of 714 milligrams per 100 kilocalories. I'm going to talk about everything in 100 kilocalories, right? And we have phosphorus, 457 milligrams per 100 kilocalories is too much. Okay. Then we have magnesium and iron, and they are both going to be 86 milligrams per 100 kilocalories. If you want to pull out a pen and paper, you can take notes here. And also, I'm working on putting together an ebook that I will be advertising soon so that we can easily see the things that are going to be maximums. Then copper, 7.1 milligram per 100 kilocalories. You have zinc, which 28.6 milligrams per 100 kilocalories is too much. Then iodine, which 1,429 micrograms per 100 kilocalories. And the last micromineral that you can overdo is selenium, which is 57 micrograms per 100 kilocalories. Now, they did not list sodium or chloride in the nutrients that could be overdone. AAFCO did not list this. These are based on AAFCO standards. That's what I'm looking at here. It may not actually be the best standard to follow, but it is the one that is followed in the United States, and so that's why I'm using it. That's where I am. That's why I'm using it. There is a maximum of sodium and chloride. There absolutely is. Salt is actually toxic to dogs at high doses, but in food, it's really, really challenging to overdo. I hear some people say, don't put salt in your home-cooked dog food, but actually they really do need some salt. And some foods do contain some sodium and chloride naturally. However, supplementing with salt is often necessary in dog food, and a lot of home-cooked diets are lacking in this. 2 grams per kilogram is the the lowest dose that can be toxic to dogs. So let's just pretend for a second that you have a 1 kilogram dog. That's a 2.2 pound Chihuahua, little toy teacup Chihuahua. Okay. You could possibly kill that dog with 2 grams. And how much is 2 grams? That's 2,000 milligrams of salt. It's pretty unlikely to do that because a tablespoon of salt is 15 grams. So for a little teeny weeny Chihuahua, that would be 2 grams is 0.13 of a tablespoon of salt, which is equivalent to about a third of a teaspoon. So a third of a teaspoon a day in one day could be toxic to a 2.2 pound dog. Most dogs are not 2.2 pounds. Most dogs are much bigger than that. But you could actually run into some issues if they drink too much seawater, if they are not given access to fresh water, if they eat the make yourself Play-Doh, the homemade Play-Doh. Oh my gosh, that stuff is really high in salt, and that is actually the biggest culprit for salt toxicity in dogs. So I don't know why they don't have sodium and chloride listed with maximums, because absolutely there are, but it's probably because it's just so very difficult to get too much salt in the diet, especially when your dog has access to clean, fresh water all the time. Okay, those are our maximums. I hope that helped you when you're thinking about making food for your dog. These are the things that you want to make sure that you don't have too much of. And really, it's more critical to make sure that you are at least meeting the minimums for all of the required nutrients for your dog. And my favorite way to make sure that I'm doing that is to make sure that my calcium is good, my vitamin D is good, and that I'm using a variety of meats, organ meats, and vegetables, as well as some starches and carbohydrates and grains and things like that. I like ancient grains like barley and quinoa. And by adding in enough variety and making sure that you're covering your calcium and making sure that you're covering your vitamin D and keeping those things where they're supposed to be, you're gonna do a pretty darn good job, and your dog is gonna benefit from all of the phytochemicals that are in the plants that are cancer fighting, that help to detox the system, that you will not get from a kibble or a canned food. I hope this helps. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Biohack Your Pets podcast. This is your host, Dr. Jessica Fusch. I have a few favors to ask. If you're loving it, please go ahead and give us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. Share it with a pet parent who loves their pets just as much as you do. They will appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.